fucking here. The EdgeStream is here. Wake up, Saxon. All
I'm
right.
awake. I'm awake.
I've trolled you all enough for long enough. It's good to be here. You guys were bullying me pretty hard in the chat for being late, but I'm here. I'm not queer. Are you queer?
No.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that, but
Yeah, sorry. I had to think about that for some reason. I've
yeah,
been confused lately by society, so now every day it's a question when I wake up.
that's
Am I me?
true. There is a lot of propaganda going around, but we did have to play that classical music in order to repel all the degenerates. Now, of course, so, sorry, do you have something to say about that?
Oh, that definitely would keep them away. Maybe if you had a nice classical art background as well, maybe some half-naked people holding pears and some angels floating around with harps and stuff. That
That's
would probably
true.
scare
They
them off
they would
too.
probably have to be European sculptures too,
Yeah.
because they would be instantly compelled to tear them down
Yeah. Yeah.
at the first sight of a beauty like that. But yeah, this is the thing apparently. Uh
Mhm.
just this month actually, or at the beginning of this year, I believe, the Los Angeles Metro has started a new initiative in an attempt to reduce crime at its stations, and it involves help from Beethoven, Mozart, and Bach. Now that piece at the
Uh-huh.
beginning there was Robert Schumann, uh, piano quintet in something something number 69. I don't know exactly what number it is, but it's
Well,
my
it
favorite one.
sounds pretty intimidating. So
Yeah,
like they always have these names like I don't know what that means, but I like
right.
it. I don't know
Well,
about
I think there is something
Beethoven's.
about the music that is intimidating, right?
Hmm.
I don't know exactly what it is. There's some musicologists in some of these articles who say that it does convince people to get the fuck out. And of course, if you're not playing rap music or popular music, you're less
Hmm.
likely to get a junkie who's just droning out like,
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's interesting
droning
that it has
simple
that effect.
music. That
Hmm.
the zombies can.
That's right. Well manufactured, well produced. The
Mm-hmm.
thing that they want to hear, they make it for you, and you want to hear it.
Exactly. And actually, this apparently does work. They say we've seen a 20% reduction in crime levels at that particular station just in the last month.
Huh.
With an
I
improvement in
think
crime sorry with an improvement in crime reduction as good as the one that they say, it's very possible that they'll start putting in metro stations in the near future.
Well, you know what's going on is like when you're having a baby, a lot of the time they'll play classical music like on the belly of the mother. It's supposed to
Mm.
increase the intelligence of the child. So maybe these are just late state babies that their intelligence is increasing while they're there, and they're becoming more refined and unwilling to steal.
Hmm. I think that there are some arguments for genetic and IQ and heritability that would say otherwise. That at a certain point, if you're all fucked up off of whatever's going around now, fentanyl or whatever else, you're probably not going to be learning much at that point. And this is basically like an exorcist holding up the cross, going, "The power of Christ compels you," but to droned out zombie fentanyl addicts, right?
That's right.
Get them moving, right? I think it must be like the complex structure of the compositions. Like you have to have a
Hmm.
higher intellect in order to be able to follow it, to understand why it's good, and to be able to feel it, right?
Yeah, you have to have a more of an understanding. It's less it's kind of like baby food is the music you get now, and that stuff is a little bit more cultured. It takes some understanding, and you have to kind of
Mm.
evolve into that taste a lot of the time too, I would imagine. But back in the day, when like Bach existed and Beethoven and so on and so forth, like that was kind of more the general music. And in fact, like a lot of people who switch in between metal and bluegrass and stuff, they always talk about how classical music is like pretty uh intense to be playing and there's a lot going on. Maybe everyone's playing different instruments and stuff, but I don't know, it's definitely something that you have to really take the time to want to like and understand, and it's definitely not something you can just turn on and be like, oh yeah, and then start flashing lights and
Hmm.
dancing around in the middle of
Yo,
the
this
street.
one's a banger,
Yeah,
yo.
something to get
Yeah.
excited about and be
I
cheap with,
have
you know.
it's an acquired taste. Like
Hmm.
I'm much more sophisticated than the average pleb, so to speak. So, my musical tastes, my philosophical discussions that I have with my peers,
That's
right?
right, yeah. you're not into the faggotry, basically.
I do really like mumble rap though. Like,
Oh,
young
come
Edgy
on, man.
D
You just
gonna fuck up
ruined.
on your bitch. Young,
Okay, like
no,
sure.
it takes
But
a
like maybe if
real.
you're promoting yourself and stuff, yeah, sure. But mumble rap's like the worst thing to happen to rap and
It is
forever
true. I do agree with
since
you.
like
Yeah.
2005, basically.
It's like a guilty pleasure for me, though. It does take a true savant to be able to appreciate the classical music of the E flat quintet number 556 of Robert Schumann, but also be like, young Edgy D coming straight for the bitches.
You're cultured.
Yeah, I'm a
You're
cultured
very broad.
individual.
You're a broadly cultured individual.
Wow,
That's
people are
what.
saying, yikes, bro, low IQ take. Edgy is sus, not gonna lie. Well, you guys have been talking a lot of shit in the chat, so I don't really give a fuck what you say at this point.
Shane Marshall.
I'm based in Tchaikovsky pills. Yeah, nice, nice.
Yeah,
You,
there you
you,
go.
apparently,
Tchaikovsky. He's good.
Tchaikovsky, the Russian composer back in the day, he
Mhm.
would drop some bangers in the theater, and they were so controversial at the time. Like the compositions were so unique that it caused people to riot. You know?
Oh, well, that's interesting because like that's probably another draw towards like the edginess and like how it was kind of related to like metal and stuff. Like it was kind of different. A lot of the time they'd be really pushing the boundaries of what they were able to do. So maybe
Yeah,
that's why he was an edgy guy. Maybe like you're edgy, right?
yeah. Maybe me and Tchaikovsky, we have more in common than we think.
I think
You know,
so.
we're both Russia
A lot.
shills.
Yeah, you're both into Russia.
Ferryman's toll is saying we say classical music repels degeneracy, but that's not what I learned from Clockwork Orange. Yes, I love to throw on the Beethoven and do a little bit of the old ultra violence, but
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is like a sophisticated form of violence. So, yeah, it doesn't necessarily repel degeneracy, I guess, but just more sophisticated degeneracy.
Yes. The refined degeneracy.
Yeah. And we have people on Rumble too. Shout outs to Rumble. Apparently people are watching on Rumble. That's good. I'm thinking of potentially doing streams in the future that I know will get taken down on YouTube. So Rumble is clearly a platform where that won't happen, at least as I could see as of yet. So looking forward to that in the future. Tarps off 89, Revlon B, Uncle Kenny, Barry Dudden, Quaffer in the chat over there. And Odyssey, one lone guy. I don't know what the
Oh,
fuck this is. He says, Edgy, that color really brings out the fatness of your ass. Try wearing
oh,
clothes with vertical stripes. Do it. I don't know what the fuck that means. Hopefully, the classical music repelled that degenerate over there. Oh,
yeah,
and
he
we
might be
have
gone.
yeah, and we have Entropy. So Doings is over there. Merc 306, Mika Shrednick, James Edwards. Good to see everybody over there. Al Stern. Good to see you, buddy. Scarecrow. And just a reminder, if anyone wants to donate during the show, feel free to do that on Entropy. I put a bunch of work into each of these shows, so it is a
Mhm.
great help. And, I am doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes that, could use some financial assistance with, and you'll see it eventually, and you'll really appreciate it. So I'm just saying, you could do that over there or on Rumble. Apparently, you can donate on Rumble. So, fuck yeah. Good to see you, Rob Primo, over there on Rumble. All right, let's get into it. Um,
Yeah, let's see if we can get you banned on YouTube before you can
yeah,
do
yeah.
your whole Rumble plan.
That is the goal. That is the goal. So I love how we are really focusing as a community into stuff like self improvement and fitness now, especially with the new
Yeah.
Telegram groups that are going. Uh, I saw that the fitness group just lit up immediately, and
Hmm.
that was a white pill to see. And they
Yeah.
do want to keep us down. They are constantly pushing anti-fitness propaganda, and this is a new one I saw from CTV as of March 18th, so it's about 10 days ago. And they claim use of protein, creatine supplements could be linked to body issues. New study shows.
Oh yeah, like fucking throwing midgets over buildings and shit. Like you could do
Hell
that.
yeah!
Yeah.
Everyone
That's the
loves a
type of
good
body
midget
issue I
toss.
want. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out like what are they even saying? They go on and on to just merely describe what they even mean by what they're talking about, and they pin this new term I've never heard of called APEDs. So scary new term, PEDs, Now we have
Yeah.
APEDs. So it's
What's the A stand for?
in some instances the legal appearance in performance enhancing drugs.
Oh
So
my
legal
God.
appearance, it's like it doesn't even
Protein.
make
Like
sense.
chicken, now a fucking protein performance enhancing drug because it has protein in it. Is that what I'm supposed to understand here?
I think so. Yeah. They have a list over here of the offending supplements: amino acids, caffeine, creatine monohydrate, blah blah blah, probiotics. How dare you gut your gut bugs good, goy? You need to be eating the goy
Wow.
slop every day of your life. And now, it's not saying that, oh, you're gonna die if you eat all these things, but it's subtle propaganda to get
Hmm.
soccer moms
To tell
not,
their kids,
yeah.
yeah, you
Oh
can't have
no,
that
you
creatine.
that's junk. No, you need to be
Hmm.
eating whatever the hell this crap is that they're selling
Yeah.
you, right?
That's an APED. No
That's an
APEDs in this
ape.
house.
Mom, you don't understand. Me and all my homies take APEDs and we get jacked up. Right?
Yeah. I take creatine for 4 weeks at a high dose and then I taper it down. I'm all fucked up.
Me and the
So
boys do
strong.
TikTok challenges where we just swallow scoop after scoop of pre-workout.
Oh
That's how
yeah,
we do
right
it.
to the mouth, and
Yeah,
then you put the water in after.
dry
That's fucking
scoops. Yeah.
crazy. Have you ever seen the dry scooping thing?
Yes,
That's
I've seen
insane.
it, and I've
I
had
would say like
buddies.
maybe don't do that. That's
Yeah,
you might have a heart attack doing that shit.
yeah, but it doesn't even talk about that at all. What
No, of course
their
not.
problem is they say some effects of muscle building and weight loss supplements include problematic alcohol behaviors. For one, going to the gym,
What's that mean?
you can't. It's hard to drink alcohol when you're going to the gym. First of all, so I don't know where they're getting that from. Such as
Hmm.
binge drinking, future use of anabolic androgenic steroids. Well, unless you're trans, which we will get
Yeah,
into later, there is a
yeah,
rise of the trans cells. So this is
yeah.
them, on the other hand, like denying people from becoming more masculine while
Yeah.
they're promoting the trans agenda, creating a future full of trans cell shooters to terrorize all those good Christian Catholic boys and
Hmm.
whatever denomination you want to
They're gonna
throw in
come
there.
for your creatine container. Coming for your
Exactly.
guns, your creatine containers. They
Criminal
want it all.
offending, intimate partner violence. Now, obviously, abuse of hardcore like PED is like trenbolone could obviously contribute to something like that. But we're talking about APADs. We're talking about
Yeah,
baby's first creatine scoop.
yeah.
Come on. Like
Gateway drug.
protein bars. Sexual risk behaviors. You mean like actually getting pussy because you're not a
Yeah,
twig,
you're getting laid
right?
because females are attracted to you and you look like a man. And that's concerning to the women who want to try to look like a man. That's probably also something that's going on here is that they really want to tone down what a man looks like. So it's easier for a lot of these other people to look like a man.
They're confusing everybody and trying to rig the standards. Oh, and of course, muscle dysmorphia. So, as soon as you grow any muscle whatsoever, then you're going to be insecure, as if you weren't
Yeah.
already insecure because, you were a pathetic
Weak and
twig
skinny. Yeah. Yeah.
before, or you were a fat slob and literally have all this extra mass. All this extra mass makes you more susceptible from to die from COVID. But will they tell you that? In
Yeah.
fact, it's like astronomically higher chances.
Yeah. It increases your comorbidity quite,
Hmm.
quite a lot. In fact, I think it was overweight people and diabetics were actually the really only people that had any risk of anything happening to them. So it really does come down to that. And then anybody reading this article out there who actually doesn't think they close the gyms on purpose to make your health worse, like this is just furthering the fact that yes, they did do that. Like they really don't want you to be fit and
Mm.
healthy at all. And they don't want anything to everything that you like supplements and stuff that's replacing all of the degenerative nutrients and stuff we're getting in our food anyways nowadays. So like of course they're going to want to keep that away from you so you keep getting your processed trash and low
Hmm.
values. So
I definitely think they're trying to get us on a cycle of GMO,
mhm.
Monsanto artificially created foods, and literally change our biological structures to need it and
Yeah.
to separate us from true natural health.
Mhm.
And yeah, they're creating all these vertical soy farms and all this crazy shit. and
Vertical
cricket
soy farm.
farms apparently.
That sounds like Canada's a vertical soy farm, basically. Fuck.
Yeah. You know, you can't have land, so you got to build everything. You got to build your soy farm vertically.
Yeah, you got to move it up.
Yeah.
It's better for the environment if you
Maybe you
keep all
could
your
fit a
soy
few
off the
pods in
ground.
there too for all the workers who have to
Yeah,
look over all the
they'll look like
AI.
one of those herb things you can get for your apartment for those chicks that grow herbs and stuff. They have these little herb
Mm.
towers. That's what the cities of the future are going to look like. Herb towers.
So this is what it says about women, though. Despite the increased usage of APADs, in men and boys, the study also notes a significant portion of girls and women, 50%, are using whey protein. Nearly 10% reported creatine, and 15% are using BCAAs. Taken together, these findings likely underscore the new pressures for girls and women to not be fat pieces of lazy shit and be physically repellent to their husbands.
Man, like, and
Sorry,
this is
I
like, I
paraphrased
remember,
that last part.
well, and this is just a continuous. They've always been messing with girls with this stuff. So I remember back in the day, it used to be the big concern, like, oh, well, girls will see somebody like, okay, mind you, nowadays it's come pretty far and it's been like airbrushed and very unrealistic, sure. But back in the 90s and stuff, it wasn't quite so much that. It was just attractive females that were in shape on, and that was putting pressure on women and stuff like that. I think like, yeah, not every female's attractive, but like if you can be in shape and be fit and you feel bad that you're not, like that's probably a good thing that you feel bad. And maybe it'll motivate
Mm-hmm.
you to not feel that way. And I think that's the other thing too. We got to spare people these feelings. So it's like a big reach to be like, well, people might not feel so good. So we're just gonna tear everybody down and make them all noodly little milk bags.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And it's not even like you have to be a Kate Moss cocaine addicted model, thin, like fit through the crack of a door,
That's
thin,
right. Yeah.
right?
Turn, you
Like
can't see her.
just don't be fat, don't be overweight, don't be obese. It's really that simple. Like they're
It
really
really is.
complicating it.
Put the fork down.
Exactly.
Put it
And
down. Or pick
as
it up
women,
more if you need it.
I feel like as women, you don't have to do as much to attract a man. Like men have to do all these things. They have to have their finances in place. They
Mhm.
have to be charismatic. They have to lead everything, and they have to not be fat slobs. They have to at least hit it out in the park, or have a
Mhm.
combination, like in one of these things, or have a combination of being like acceptable at all these things.
Yeah.
And women, it's just like don't be horrendous.
Hmm. Take care of yourself, please.
But no, that's gonna cause them to have an eating disorder or something.
Yeah, that was really misogynist of me to say, and I don't want you to get banned off of YouTube, so
Oh
I'll,
no,
I'll never
no,
say
we're
anything like
we're
that
gonna
again.
get Tony, aka Evan Belgord, working overtime tonight.
Oh,
Okay.
Tony, I always forget about him because he's so fucking forgettable. So
Well,
thanks for
our
reminding
last
me.
streams, our last two streams, we have like what, like a 50-part thread,
Yeah, we're
clipping
doing pretty
like,
good, man.
yeah, man,
Pretty
we're a
good.
good
Good for
team, we're a
us.
good duo.
Yeah, we're good. Fuck you, Evan. Thanks for tuning in, though. We really
Yeah,
appreciate the attention you get us. It's helped.
exactly. Yeah. Any viewer is any publicity is good publicity. I don't know what I was trying to
Hmm.
say there. But now apparently they're trying to tax these things. So that's how they're going to. Of course, they're not going to ban these things at
No,
first.
yeah,
For
right.
now, right? But now they're going to tax it. It sounds a lot like the carbon credit score type social credit bullshit, where whatever they want you to do, they'll incentivize it or disincentivize the
Yeah.
behavior they don't want. So
Hmm.
yeah, if you want to get jacked, that's going to be a
It's,
lot
yeah, you're
more
going to be
money for
paying
you,
a
apparently.
paying a tax for the gains. They get some gains, and you
Yeah.
also have to pay more for your gains, I guess.
Exactly. These are capital gains right
Yeah,
here. The capital
capital
gains
gains.
means
Yeah.
tax. Yeah. Yeah. And it's so that they could increase funds for research. You know this research that we saw here,
Oh
so you
yeah,
could
so they can continue to trash it. They're like, oh
yeah.
yes, so we'll pay more research to tell you why you should be eating bugs and crickets and not eating any supplements, and maybe go have some seedless grapes that taste like cotton candy. You fucking weirdo at Walmart. Who the fuck buys that shit?
I don't know. But yeah, it seems like that's the first step in this. Well, not the first step, one of the many steps in this attack on masculinity. I think Ferryman said it before, and I agree. Is we should be having mandatory testosterone, dare I say it, trenbolone for all men who are
Yeah.
underperforming in these regards, especially the ones who are acting like sissies or who have like an inclination to be more feminine. Like, shouldn't the doctors be giving them something that aligns with their natural biology?
You would think so, but it's really hard to do. Like, and that was a big discussion that people were having is how impossible it is to actually get hormone replacement therapy if you actually
Mm,
need it as a male. And everybody knows that testosterone levels in men have been on a massive decline. And by the time you're 35, which I'm 37, so it's probably affected me already, your testosterone starts to decline exponentially up until the age of like 50.
mm,
And so to help you have more vitality and stuff like that, like you're either able to get the proper foods and exercise you can, and then you're going to maintain healthy levels. But we live in a society where that's impossible. You're enslaved to your job, your debts,
mm,
and everything else. So you're always working like a madman. Like I lost a lot of weight right now too, basically the same thing, and I have to get back into it. But they won't give you something that you need to help you along if you like it would be almost supplemental because you got me working this slave job in a cubicle and I'm turning into like a fucking estrogen
mm.
filled bag of bloat.
Well,
So they won't give it to you.
what if I identified as a female, but then I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be a male? Could
That's
could the, hmm?
that's something I've also considered. I think it might work. I mean, if you can get insurance by identifying as a female and getting female rates, I mean, why not? Like, we should give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, why not? I see some super chats over here. We got Satoshi Ape and Real Donald T saying, anyone with a pronoun in their bio, even if it is she slash her or he slash him, should be banned from owning a weapon as it shows they are part of a cult. Okay, this is a like a an amendment on the red flag laws idea. I see, I see. Well, thanks for the donation there. And yeah, people haven't been talking about this. This is one of the first times I've seen this brought up, especially since like it's so obvious what ideology the shooter came from.
Is it obvious? It's yeah, it is.
Oh, and
It's
we got
obvious.
James Edwards saying etude in E major, like Opus 10 number 3 Tristes. I'm about to get twisty, insane about Chopin. I get lit and do some online shopping. Well, okay, we have another savant in the chat apparently.
Yeah, rapping about classical music is that's where rap should be. Let's bring
Oh,
that
that's
back.
what he was doing. Okay. About to get to okay. Insane about Chopin. Ah, okay, I got you. I got you. We have a real intellectual, a real savant over here.
Yeah.
The average classical music enjoyer. All
I'm
right.
sorry, man. Hmm. Dying. I'm
Well,
dying.
what are you what are you dying for, man?
No.
Here. Uh I know you've seen the new Kanye West update. He was in hiding for a while. He was with the new
Yeah.
wife. Well, we'll talk about this just for a brief second. Kanye, after months and months of hiding, apparently he went and married this new wife of his sometime after, like maybe a week or two after the Alex Jones appearance. And he finally comes back after cutting contact with people, saying, basically, watching Jonah Hill in 21 Jump Street made me like Jewish people again. No one should take anger against one or two individuals and transform that into hatred towards millions of innocent people. No Christian can be labeled anti Semite knowing Jesus is Jew. Thank you, Jonah Hill. I love you. So, where do you think this is going? Do you think
I don't
Kanye
know. Is that
West?
a troll? Like that's what I thought originally, but I have no idea. Like I've watched 21 Jump Street and it didn't really do anything for me. So he's probably trolling, I'm assuming. There's no way. No, I think that really what's going on is that he might just be doing like a soft, like, oh, I'm kind of repenting about it and trying to relate to Jews.
Mm,
Like he's doing the old classic, like, oh, Jesus was a Jew and stuff. Well, Judaism's like a religion, really. Like the people are actually Hebrews. And so Jesus is the people like you follow Jesus and you're a Christian. And Jesus is the gate, you know what I mean, that you go through. He's not like a Jew in that sense. He's a Hebrew for sure. And it related to he's in the line of David. So no arguments there. But like now, besides his racial identity and stuff, like when it comes to Judaism, it's different. Anyways, I'm not going to get into this, go
Okay,
down
yeah.
this
Well, I don't. I
whole
think
thing because
that's all mute
I'm
points
always
because
talking about it. Apparently, I've been told always talking about it.
I don't think he really has much of an understanding of any like theology whatsoever. He's just taking a bunch
No,
of talking points from like, oh, the black Hebrew Israelites, Jesus is Jew, we're the real Jews. He takes some
yeah,
stuff from there. I do agree with a lot of what he's saying, like politically, in
hmm
you know, saying that there are Jewish handlers trying to come after him, and the tenets of Christianity and love and all that stuff,
yeah,
love speech. But I think this is his attempt on trying to like put his toe back in the water to see if people will forgive him, if he
hmm
could start doing some work with some other people again. Maybe some of these corporations or businesses will take them back, because I think what he found out is that a lot of this money, or most of the money, the billions that he had, being the richest musical artist in the world, it wasn't really his money. It
mm,
was only granted to him because he was
yeah,
willing to shill and be at least somewhat cooperative with the status quo and with the overall neoliberal agenda. And
hmm
it's not his money anymore especially once he crosses the line that he did, right?
yeah,
So I think that Ye calling out the Jays is over with. I think
hmm
he's going to slowly come back in. I don't know how he's going to do it, because
No, me
certainly,
either. Mel Gibson didn't do a very good job with it either. So
well, Mel Gibson, he made his way back in and he's doing a good job, but he didn't go nearly as hard
no.
and consistent as Ye did. I don't think that the Jays are going to forgive Kanye that easily, and Kanye won't be satisfied with the bones that some people do throw him, and then he'll get
Yeah.
angry again. And
Mm.
uh
Start storming the Grammys and so on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
do his
I don't think we've
original
seen
stuff.
I don't think we've seen the last of unhinged, unmedicated Ye, which is best Ye, by the way.
Yeah, I agree. He's very entertaining. I like his rap music too, but I actually like
Same.
unmedicated Yay way more. Like if you ever go watch any of his YouTube interviews, I can't remember the name of the show. It's very popular in like the rap scene. It's like got two ex rappers or something interview everybody. But he goes on there. This is before the Alex Jones thing. Just the way he talks about things, like you know that he's not stupid, but then he has those moments where you're like, "What is this guy like retarded?" Like honestly, like talking about Jonah Hill has made you change your mind because you watched 21 Jump Street. Like that's a
Yeah.
pretty like lame thing to be thrown out there.
It
I'm
it
sure
does
Jonah
seem
Hill is
like
just like,
it is
oh
funny. It
yeah.
is funny like a troll
Yeah, it
potentially,
is. That's what I think it
but
is.
I also don't like how it's saying one or two like no one should take anger against one or two individuals and transform that into hatred towards millions of innocent people.
Hmm. So he
Like
has
this
maybe
was
he has
not one
bones
or
to pick with
two.
someone, and that's
Like
why he went off on it.
right, like the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, and all these Jewish organizations that lobbied for cancellation. It's not one or
Hmm.
two individuals.
Yeah.
And you know it. Like what are you saying this for? It seems like he's trying to go back on it, and he's trying to do it in a way where he saves face.
Well,
So
hopefully he does because at the same time, like a lot of people talk about him being like almost like a psyop to get a lot of hatred towards Christians and stuff. Like we've even seen over the last couple of days, like specific Jewish people making comments about Christians over the shooting and things like that. So I think like that's one thing that will be bred out of it. Not that like it's going to happen anyways, like unfortunately. And then
mm-hmm.
same thing with the transgender thing, like all that push. Sometimes I would just wonder if like it's just brewing a big pot, but really I think there's a lot more going on than that. So I'm not going to let these trannies off that easy. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody's saying Kanye has been replaced. This might be part of clone theory. You got John Fetterman, you got all these guys who are looking weird, looking different, just a week or two apart from each other. Justin Trudeau in different pictures. I don't know about all that. We must be living in a simulation if that shit is true. But
I don't
I
know,
want to
man.
believe it because I like schizo shit. But
Yeah, sometimes the mask things and stuff like that. Like I'll see pictures and they look believable. Sometimes you'll be like, yeah, that could be a mask. And I definitely think
Mm,
that it's probably possible, but how often are they doing it? I don't know.
right.
But
Well, we
are
know
they
that.
replacing people? Maybe. I don't.
Right.
Fetterman's pretty interesting.
Well, people like Zelensky are faking their video shoots, and they're
Yeah,
pretending they're like in the center square of Ukraine or wherever else, but really they're in a
right.
green screen studio. And you see people on like the Instagram comments of his videos saying like, "Why are you clearly like using a green screen?" It's not like the
Yeah.
top comments, but it's like maybe the third or fourth down. Like people are really catching on. It's
Hmm.
really like absurd theatrics, but pretty blatant if you have a keen eye for it. So who knows how far they're going with it, right? Oh, we do have a big super chat from the Rumble live chat. You love to see it. $50. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. From Jaded Mandarin saying thank you all thanks for all you do for our community. And he throws up some slashes. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for your support too. Like you definitely work hard for that money and appreciate it.
Hmm.
All right. So let's get deeper into the Trancels theory. But first, I want to bring up something that I don't think has been brought up in our community yet, and it involves the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, and he's going on quite the crusade against Christians, specifically Catholics. And in this video, this is from a few weeks ago, but Josh Hawley, I believe he's a senator, yeah, he grills the fuck out of Garland about this particular incident. Okay, so I'm gonna try to explain this properly. There's this guy, Mark Hawk, and he was an anti-abortion activist, and he was had like a prayer group outside of an abortion clinic, and it was being peaceful. It was just like a peaceful demonstration. And then there was some agitator named Bruce Love, I believe, who got in his face, was swearing at him and his kid, and provoking him. And I don't know. I think there might have been like a push or something. He pushed him like, "Get
Okay.
away from my kid," kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like the guy was yelling profanities, getting in their face. Uh, and then there was some kind of scuffle. I don't know if it went beyond a push in its physical escalation, but the police were involved. He got charged. All the charges got immediately dropped. It took apparently an hour for the jury to come to a decision to drop all charges. And then months later, this guy gets raided by the FBI, guns drawn, and you'll hear more about it now.
Attorney General Garland, let me just ask you, does your department have a problem with anti-Catholic bias?
Our department protects all religions and all ideologies. It does not have any bias against any religion.
And I want you to guess what ideology Attorney General Merrick Garland is associated with, and why he might be persecuting Catholics.
Religion
Oh,
of
would
any
he
kind.
be
Well, you could have surprised me because given the
bracketed?
resources
Don't
Multiple
say it. Don't say it. I'm warning you. You're on thin ice, Goy.
that you are expending and the apparently intelligence assets that you are deploying against Catholics, it appears, and other people of faith, while simultaneously turning a blind eye while people are executed gang style on the streets of our cities, including in my home state. Your answer frankly surprises me. Let's talk about the Mark Houck case, for example. You've been asked about this already today, and frankly, your
And this guy, I love his zest, his zeal, whatever you want to call it. It reminds me of Dan Lloyd in our country, Canada, going after Evan Balgordon anti-hate in Parliament, saying you guys only go after what you call right-wing hate and right-wing extremism, but you just ignore like the dozens of churches burning in the last few years, all these anti-Christian hate-motivated crimes. So you love to see it.
answers
Yeah.
really astound me. This is a case where a Catholic pro-life demonstrator, father, was accused of disorderly conduct in front of an abortion center. The local prosecutor, the Philadelphia district attorney, who is a Democrat, a liberal, very progressive, declined to prosecute. There was a private suit that got dismissed. And then after all of that, your Justice Department sent between 20 and 30.
Imagine that. You push a guy Allegedly. I don't even know if that's exactly what happened, but it was nothing more than that. And then you get charged, you get a civil suit against you, and then finally, after all of that gets dropped, you get, as you'll hear.
And then after all of that, your Justice Department sent between 20 and 30 armed agents in the early morning hours to the Houck's private residence to arrest this guy after he had offered to turn himself in voluntarily. Here's the photo. Once again, you can see the long guns, you can see the ballistic shields, you can see that they're wearing bulletproof vests. Why did the Justice Department do this? Why did you send 20 to 30 SWAT-style agents and a SWAT-style team to this guy's house when everybody else had declined to prosecute and he'd offered to turn himself in?
Determinations of how to make arrests under arrest warrants are made based by the tactical operators in the district. They are not.
But you surely looked into it by this point, right? You know the answer, surely.
All I know is what the FBI has said, which is that they made decisions on the ground as to what was safest and easiest. So you do not agree with your description of what happened on the scene.
You don't agree with my description. I'm pointing out what the photo is. There are agents here who have long guns and ballistic shields. Let's take a look at the hardened.
That seems to be a typical snake weasel-like tactic
Yeah,
that these government officials use. Oh, I disagree with your characterization. Look at the picture over here. Is this okay? I disagree with the characterization.
I got a question about Merrick Garland. Like, how long has he been in possession of the ring? Because he's getting pretty galmy. Like, how long has it been? A couple months, maybe? Like, how long has he had it for? How long do you think it's been in his possession?
The more lies that you have to, that you have to tell, and the more deceitful things you have to do for your precious,
that's right.
The uglier you get.
That's what happens to the man. Like, he's turning into one.
Maybe maybe he needs to get some more adrenochrome or what the hell they're drinking.
Yeah, they're running out, man. Right. They're blowing up the tunnels. Have you heard about that? Blowing up all the tunnels.
No, I have not.
Where they transport adrenochrome. That's some of the QAnon stuff. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, maybe that's a stream for Rumble later.
Yes, that's a Rumble one. We can
criminals
talk about why
that your Justice Department sent these armed agents to go terrorize on that morning. Here they are at Mass. Here's the 7 children with Mr. Houck and his wife. In this early morning, they were all at home. Mrs. Houck has said repeatedly the children were screaming. They feared for their lives. You got these agents demanding that he come out. They've got the guns, she said, pointing at the house and at them. He has offered to turn himself in. And this is who you go to terrorize. What's really interesting to me is this seems to directly contradict your own memorandum about the use of force at the Justice Department. You say officers may use only the force that is objectively reasonable to effectively control an incident. Are you telling me that in your opinion as Attorney General, it was objectively necessary to use 20 or 30 SWAT-style agents with long guns and ballistic shields for these people?
What I'm saying is that decisions about how to go about this were made on the ground by FBI agents.
So you're saying you don't know?
I'm saying what I just said.
Which is that you're abdicating responsibility?
I'm not abdicating responsibility.
Then give me the answer. Do you think, in your opinion, you are the Attorney General of the United States? You are in charge of the Justice Department. And yes, sir, you are responsible.
Yeah. So now this is a politician.
Yeah, he's bringing the heat to him for sure. I like this guy. He also kind of looks like, I'd imagine, like during the 50s and stuff. He's got that suit and the hair. You know what I mean? He's very quick speaking and to the point.
He's the guy who was cracking the case during 12 Angry Men, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Give me an answer.
The FBI does not agree with your description.
I'm not asking about the FBI. You are the Attorney General. Give me your answer. Do you think that it was objectively reasonable and they followed your guidelines in sending 20 to 30 armed agents to terrorize these people? Yes or no?
The facts I have, which are those presented by the FBI, are not consistent with your description.
So you think it was reasonable?
It's always like an AI script. These people are run by AI scripts. They're clowns. Mm-hmm. They're clowns, I tell you.
I'm saying the facts are not as you described.
What, that the children weren't there? That there weren't long guns there? That there weren't agents? What do you dispute? What's the factual premise you dispute?
FBI
Be specific.
Said they don't agree with your description of...
Be specific. They don't agree with what?
Of how many agents, of the agents who were there, and of what their roles were. They don't agree.
Do you know the jury in this case acquitted Mr. Houck? I'm sure you're aware. Do you know how long it took him?
I am aware, and we respect the decision of the jury.
Do you know how long it took him?
I don't know.
1 hour. 1 hour. Philadelphia District Attorney declines to prosecute. The private suit's dismissed. You use an unbelievable show of force with guns that I just note liberals usually decry.
Looks like Nick Fuentes in the background.
I had the guy back there. I just noticed him chuckling the whole time.
Yeah, the next Nick Fuentes, but just he's gonna actually have optics this time.
We're supposed to hate long guns and assault-style weapons. You're happy to deploy them against Catholics and innocent children. Happy to. And then you haul him into court and a jury acquits him in 1 hour. I just suggest to you that that is a disgraceful performance by your Justice Department and a disgraceful use of resources. I notice a pattern, though. The FBI field office in Richmond on the 23rd of January of this year issued a memorandum in which they advocated for, and I quote,
this is good. So,
quote,
here are who they're going after in light of everything that's going on.
3rd of January of this year, issued a memorandum in which they advocated for, and I quote, the exploration of new avenues for tripwire and source development against traditionalist Catholics, it's their language, including those who favor the Latin Mass. Attorney General, are you cultivating sources and spies in Latin Mass parishes and other Catholic parishes around the country?
No, the Justice Department does not do that. It does not do investigations based on religion. I saw the document you have.
What did you do about it?
It's appalling. It's appalling. I'm in complete agreement with you. I understand that the FBI has withdrawn it and is now looking into how this could ever have happened.
How did it happen?
That's what they're looking into. But I'm totally in agreement with you. That document is appalling.
I'll tell you how it happened. This memorandum, which is supposed to be intelligent, cites extensively the Southern Poverty Law Center, which goes on to identify all of these different Catholics as being part of hate groups. Is this how the FBI, under your direction and leadership, is this how they do their intelligence work? They look at left-wing advocacy groups to target Catholics? Is this what's going on? I mean, clearly it is. How is this happening?
The FBI is not targeting Catholics, and as I've said, this is an inappropriate memorandum, and it doesn't reflect the methods that the FBI is supposed to be using. It should not be relying on any single organization without doing its own work.
Let me just ask you, as my time expires here, a very direct question. How many informants do you have in Catholic churches across America?
I don't know, and I don't believe we have any informants aimed at Catholic churches. We have a rule against investigations based on First Amendment activity, and Catholic churches are obviously First Amendment activity.
Well,
but I don't know the specific answer to your question.
You don't know the specifics of anything, it seems, but apparently on your watch, this Justice Department is targeting Catholics, targeting people of faith, specifically for their faith views. And Mr. Attorney General, I'll just say to you, it's a disgrace.
Nice. Well done. So there you have it. They're getting tips or direction from the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, far left organization.
Is the other version.
Yeah, anti-hate is Canada's version. So is CSIS getting their information on who to target from them and getting that spin put on it too? To say that, oh, when they say this, they actually mean this. And that means that they're violent, and they're going to come after you, and they're going to hurt people. And that they're white supremacists, and that they're going to do this and that, right?
Well, it's almost like the IMVE thing. They have it down there in the States, and they're targeting the same people they're going to be targeting up here. It's just a step ahead.
Right, right. And as we could see here, though, Merrick Garland's got egg on his face. Apparently, this memorandum, or whatever you call it, that they put out is an embarrassment, even according to Merrick Garland, even though they went through with it. And, of course, the SPLC led them to help them put it out. So who's to say that doesn't happen here if we could figure out exactly what's going on? Maybe with something like a Freedom of Information access request, or however else you would find how they're actually getting their information and how they are interpreting what's going on. And using that to squash people's freedom of speech, to squash people's civil rights.
I think a lot of the time this stuff comes from top down, like discussions and groups that they hold and things like that. Like, so for instance, probably 2 months ago now, D&D had somebody come in and talk about CRT. So they approached the top of the organization and force them to change with like threats of their jobs, demotion, and blah, 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 blah. So they push out all this shit, and then it comes down from the top. That's the same way they did it in the military. It's not cultural. It's like not natural cultural change. They enforce all the mechanisms everywhere. And that's the same thing they're going to be doing with the IMVE thing. So a top-down approach comes in from the government. They have some specialists from the states show up. We're like, oh, we have all this information on IMVEs. And then they install that ideology at the top of CSIS. Then it works its way down. That's my belief in how they get that shit going.
Yeah, well, I could see that happening totally. Well, yeah, you've
Sorry.
seen the video. You've seen the video from the like as far as solutions, I guess I've already said it. Like look towards freedom of information access requests, however you might go about it. Look into suing friends who are lawyers, all this stuff, getting your elected representative, whoever will do it. Now, someone who comes in mind is Dane Lloyd, like I said, who went after Evan Balgord and other people who were so-called extremism and hate experts and asking them why they only go after right-wing terrorism and why they are anti-fascist and they wear it on their sleeves, supposedly. Uh,
Mhm.
and that is someone who's working with the government in order to persecute people. So
Hey,
that's some.
Evan. I said hi to
Whoa.
Evan.
Okay, there it is. I was like, did Tim just delete another video? I'm talking about Tim Pool. Apparently, he
Oh,
had
what's going on
Ezra
with Tim
Levant
Pool?
on, and then Ezra Levant was making a characterization of a leftist, being like, "We have to punch the Nazi, we have to stop and kill the Nazi," or something. And then Tim
Mhm.
Pool just shut it down. And I saw people posting that, and they're like, "Whoa, Ezra's gone nuts again. He wants to. He's saying he wants to attack Nazis or whatever." But I think that was taken out of context.
Oh,
However,
okay.
like Ezra is very subversive in that like
Mhm.
he presents things a certain way and I wouldn't trust him. So I do
Yeah,
understand why
I'm
people
not
would believe that.
trustworthy of the whole Rebel News organization. They have a couple good ones, I guess, but for the most part, they're just fear mongers and not a fan.
Not solution
Rage
oriented.
sellers. They sell the
Mm.
rage, you know what I mean? They want you to buy into their fear and their rage and be angry all the time when you could just be, yeah, like you just said, more solutions based and not just reading
Uh,
Rebel News things and being angry on your drive to work every day.
Well, do you like this Michael Knowles guy? He works for Daily Wire Plus, and he is a Catholic. He's
He's all right.
a supporter of the Catholic Mass. I like him a lot more than Ben Shapiro. Like this
Well,
guy
yeah.
doesn't bother me, and he's kind of funny in some of his videos. But anyways, this is how he was treated when he came to Purdue University, and I think that we should have more people who are culturally conservative, not
Yes.
just freedom movement people who are like anti-vax and whatnot here in Canada. We
Mhm.
need to have more like Christian conservatives, more people who are right wing on issues like immigration, and have them having these people freak out like this because it's hilarious. It really makes them show their true colors.
Mhm.
And we're on the defense all the time, trying to interfere with these drag queen story hour and whatnot. But it's
I
time we
really
hosted
agree
our
with
own
that
events.
point. I agree with what you're saying. Like trying to get this out in front of the churches and stuff like that, getting them to see this with their own eyes, because a lot of churches are really blind to this right now. Like they don't really pay attention to a lot of the stuff that's going on, and a lot of them don't want to believe that it's actually happening. Like even some of the churches I used to go to, it's nothing they really talk about. They never bring it up or anything like that. Like churches need to actually understand what's coming towards them with these people. So hopefully, people will wake up to this.
Provided they're not one of the ones facilitating it all, right?
Yes, yeah, not the United Church of Canada.
Well, this video is particularly interesting, like most of these kinds of videos that you see. And we are talking before, I think it was in Ferryman's Twitter space, saying that when you have these videos to present to people, you could show like young people, young Chads, young smart guys who have a chance in life that, hey, do you want to be like one of these people over here? One of these
Mhm.
losers who are like spiteful at people just trying to have an event, just trying to speak out, and all they can muster up is a bunch of NPC lines like fuck off Nazi, and then you present them with alternatives. Or you could do this, and
Yeah.
you could take that same kind of leadership that you have as the captain of the hockey team or the football team, and you could provide that to other people and be a leader in like
Mhm.
in a religious sense or in an ideological sense or in a cultural sense with something like comedy or some kind of entertainment. You could start a
Yeah.
show. Like you could do all these different things. You could like the possibilities are endless if we just foster a positive community with things that kids will actually like too, because
Yeah.
you don't want to just be like, now we're all gonna pray constantly. And it's like, okay.
Mhm. Well, that's
Although
not.
that
Come
is a
on,
thing that
but
people
just
should
pray
do.
all the time, and that would be the best. No, I'm just joking. But
Almost
I do
did.
think, like, I agree. Like, there needs to be more of a supportive. Well, that's what I like about like what's been going on lately with the Diagolon Prime thing is that it's really building people up, and people are seeing that they can do things. They're also witnessing what other people are doing and being like, hey, this person can do all these things. I can probably do some different stuff that's cool and interesting as well. Like there's people that do all kinds of strange things from the stuff that I've been reading that I've never even heard of. And then I read them like, oh, that's interesting. So like there's a lot of cool stuff out there, especially like I've found the fitness and finances thing. Like that's the type of stuff that really helps people feel like they're part of a community, and it'll breed more conversation when they talk to other people, I'd hope, or they'd be more willing to be strong in their opinions because they see other people are. So
Right. Yeah, share your skills that you have harnessed or honed over like the years of your experience, and then fill in the blanks with the stuff that you need to learn yourself from another person who's willing to teach you. It's like the give and take that you can have as a community, and you can really grow. So you don't have to do everything yourself.
it sounds so normal.
Yeah,
Just like sounds normal.
it's almost like we've been cut off from what
Yeah.
is normal, right?
Mhm.
So this is how it starts. Now I was thinking it would be just so Chad, you know how they're yelling "fuck off Nazis." If some Chad just walked up and just like smiled and laughed and threw up a Roman or something.
Oh
Now that's
my.
bad optics. It would be terrible. It would probably sink the whole thing. But it's mocking what they're saying. Like,
Yeah, I
oh, I'm a
understand. I totally
Nazi.
understand that
Yeah.
argument. I have other personal reasons, like my grandfather fighting Nazis and stuff like that. Why I just wouldn't.
Exactly.
I wouldn't do it. I'm totally comfortable if people want to do it, like especially understanding the history of it. But for me, that's not my thing. But also on an optics level, like I wouldn't want to see organized groups doing that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's bad for the overall group. But when it's individual people and stuff like that, like if V4F started going around and doing that stuff, I'd be like, man, like we're fucked. Like that's the
Right.
stupidest thing we could do. So I have
It's a
complex
funny
opinion.
image based on what they're yelling to just mock them with something
Yeah,
like
it's
that. Like,
I
oh,
I
I'm the
agree.
thing that, you know what I mean?
I agree 100%.
But
I,
yes,
I agree with
terrible
that.
idea. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that. Don't fall into their traps, because they are trying to get like a snapshot, a little picture, even if you're obviously joking. And here it is. Exterminate transphobia. Bunch of spiteful mutants. That's what I think when I see
Yeah.
this. It's just fascinating observing this. Seeing
They really don't
different-
have anything better to do either, right?
Oh, what's this?
Yeah.
Is this
That's
the
the pleb.
pleb? The pleb moonlighting at his other controlled opposition gig?
Yeah.
People are telling me I need to fight the pleb, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not an angry guy. I'm not angry against him. And I
Charity
know you
boxing
guys,
match.
but I would be down to fight the pleb for sure. I have no idea how big or tall, how much he weighs, but
I
I'm
can tell by his
confident.
facial structure that you could kick the shit out of him.
Okay, well, that's all I need to know. So maybe
Just
it'll
his
happen.
facial structure.
I don't think he would ever be down to fight somebody though. So it might be funny to just call him out and try and challenge him. And
Everybody wants to fight him. We could have like a tag team match. He could take his like best followers because that's all he really has. He doesn't have any friends. He just fucking has followers. And then he could get them to be like tag team partners with him. And then we could like pick our best guys from the fitness fucking thing and just throw them at him. That'd be fun. Come on, pleb, charity a tag team match. You're
so we're
gay
just gonna
community
gang
versus
beat
our
the shit
community.
out of him, is what you're saying? Just one after the other, just pounding him. I thought it was me because I'd be like the underdog. I'm the smaller guy, but like he's so soy that I could still beat him up.
Well, I
Like,
think Derek's trying to fight you first, so or maybe me. Who
oh,
knows?
whoa,
Oh.
Saxon. All right, fuck. I'm gonna have to.
We're gonna have a Diagolon dumpster brawl.
I like
something. I
it.
don't
I
know.
like it. Let's get it going.
For charity.
I gotta start sparring first. Let's just say that. But I am.
For the
I
pleb, man? Nah, I don't see it. I don't see it.
No preparation needed whatsoever. Okay.
None. Watch a movie.
So yeah, we need more of that for sure.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this Posey Parker thing? So I had no idea this
No.
person even existed till this
I
weekend.
don't like the sound of this name already.
Well,
Who's
I
Posey
thought
Parker?
when I first saw it, so I saw just the name Posey Parker, and it was a woman covered in like red sauce, I guess. So I was thinking, like, what is this, some kind of feminist? Like, all I saw was a post from some woman saying, like, people who know Posey Parker know she's a real hero, and it was just this woman covered in red liquid. So I was like, oh my god, is this some kind of feminist? And she smeared
Yeah.
like period blood all over herself, like, oh, the patriarchy, oh, my tampon tax, we're so oppressed, and she's just smearing like ketchup all over herself because they do that kind of thing.
That's art now. That's the art that
But
they
then,
like.
yeah, right. But then I looked it up and I was like, oh, whoa, this is actually like a big news story. So this woman, Posey Parker, she went to go speak in New Zealand, and they tried to block her out. Like there was a big controversy about even giving her like the visa to come do this appearance over there. And apparently she's a TERF, trans exclusive radical feminist.
Yeah, fucking made up term for normal woman.
Right. A woman who does not want guys in the women's change room around little girls especially. So that makes you a radical, apparently.
Yeah, radical, yeah.
And potentially not allowed to come into a country. But they let her in, and this was the result. This much chaos over a woman who doesn't want men in the women's change room.
Can you point out where the Posey Parker is? Is it the woman in the? She's okay at the end of that ketchup bottle or whatever that is.
Yes.
Okay.
You'll see her more in a second. So she's getting sauced by this thing. And that's her. So they're literally getting nothing done. Like, they can't speak at all. There's just absolute mayhem going on.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, these people are all impeding her right to free speech.
So well, it goes back to that language thing too, right? They don't even want you to talk at all. They're going to come drown you out. You're not going to use their words. They're just going to come and scream really loud. So that's their other fucking lame ass weapon they got.
Right? And does this not constitute a form of violence where you cause so much of a threat that everything has to be shut down? And this has been going on for like decades, and especially the last decade and years, where we can't even have right-wing or conservative Christian speakers anymore because they just get absolutely mobbed and attacked like this. And she gets sauced at the end, so she actually does get physically attacked. She doesn't get to speak, so her right to free speech is impeded. And they want to call everyone else the violent ones, though.
Yep. Well, they're walking around, like in the last video you showed, you see this fucking guy walk by with the trans flag, and he has an AR-15 silhouette on his shirt and stuff. Like, they're really amping up their violence, and the government's been letting them get away with it. So they have the license, they feel, to go do this stuff. And now that you see like Tennessee fighting back with some of their bans and stuff like that, and other states picking up on it, like they're going to start picking it up too. Like they're talking about this violence is going to occur soon in Washington, D.C. Like they really are up to something. Rand Paul's assistant got stabbed in the fucking head the other day. Like it's probably related to all this shit. Like they're going to turn up the heat on us.
Do they have any idea why? Like the motive for that, other than just
they're all suicidal.
Rand Paul like Badman.
Oh yeah, Rand Paul Badman is pretty much all I know, but I assume it's related to like the coming assault that we're going to be seeing. I think. or at
Hmm.
least they're planning and talking about they're gonna do.
Well, I do have to give Derek credit, our good friend Derek Rant, for coming up with the term trancel. He
Yes.
predicted it,
Yeah. He
and
was
he's
bang
saying,
on with that one.
yeah, for I don't know how long he's been saying this, but it's been a while. And he says the unsullied army is becoming real. So this is just an example of what you were talking about. And there it is, the Trans Day of Vengeance. I don't know how legit this thing is. I'm sure it's real, but stop trans genocide while you're holding up whatever that gun was.
Yeah. Commit genocide. That's what they want to
It's
do.
preemptive genocide, man. Right?
It's almost just like whoa. Whoa.
Well, there you go.
Protect trans kids with a fucking buck knife. Like that's a little concerning. Like you're going around trying to make these kids trans, and then like now we're gonna defend them. Like what a fucking nightmare this is, man. It's creepy motherfuckers.
And Trans Day of Vengeance? How come I haven't heard of this till after the shooting happens, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we had the ADL and all these different organizations like promoting basically this day of hate that supposedly was going to be like this crazy, I guess, day of hate, but it never happened. The only reason I ever heard about it was because of the ADL
Yeah.
and all these other
It's true.
organizations trying to fearmonger about it.
Well,
Yet
they
we
had
hear
that
nothing
shooting
about this.
just recently, so I mean that could be some encouragement if they're promoting stuff like this now. Maybe they're like, oh, like you can do this stuff. And oddly, it seems like there's not a lot of like, yeah, like people like us are obviously perturbed by what's going on, but there's not a lot of mainstream anything happening as per usual. So everybody's going to remain asleep to it mostly. I bet you most people on the street don't even know this occurred.
Hmm. Well, we can see that it's becoming a much more common thing. Now, when the first one happens, you're like, okay, yeah, it's understandable. But now it's becoming quite the pattern, especially since this has become much more common, transitioning and all the transgender propaganda, all the clinics popping up out of nowhere just in the last 5 years. Thanks especially to the Pritzker family uh, fortune that they have to be able to pump billions of dollars into it and all the
Yeah.
propaganda surrounding it. But yeah, you
Mhm.
have four of these uh, recent shooters, non-binary trans.
1.2% of school shootings are now by a demographic. I think Ferry pointed out of 0.1% to 0.2%. So like that's some heavy hitting right now. And
Yeah,
I
was
think
it?
that has a lot to do with just like the mental state they're being pushed into. Like it's making it extremely more likely. And there's a lot of them and they're going to start doing it. If they're going to kill themselves, they probably are going to start trying to take out other people on the way. They don't seem to care. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens, and also terrifying and unfortunate.
Yeah, well, mass shooters come in all many shapes and sizes, right? Um, there's the neo-Nazi accelerationist shooters. Those are the ones that they try to push on all of us and say that we need to censor free speech because of it.
Yeah.
And they usually have these manifestos that some of it is just like extremely hateful garbage, but then
Mhm.
other stuff is inconvenient and controversial facts that are actually very consequential for like how our society is going to go forward, right?
Mhm.
Stuff like FBI crime statistics and websites that are totally legit. But then, since they're in a manifesto, then they could wrap it up and say all this stuff needs to be banned, and it caused
Yeah.
him to go on this spree or whatever. Even though the things are factual, they try to wrap it all up in order to eliminate free speech. And it's always the ideology that caused it in these instances, plus the fact that there was guns there.
Very well said. I agree with that take on that. And that's what they constantly like to do. So more speech control, everything they can
Right.
do. And like with this manifesto, I wonder what's going to pop up in it. I'm really interested in seeing what happens with this manifesto.
I'll definitely be reading that when it comes out.
Yeah.
And then you have Islamic terrorism, where
Mhm.
it's similar. We haven't seen a lot of that lately, actually. But
Yeah.
before, when it was much more prevalent, they would say, "Oh, it's not the fault of Islam; it's the fault of terrorists, and we need to have an increased surveillance state if we're going to stop them." So
Mhm.
they would push for the surveillance state in those instances, and of course for gun control. In every instance of this, they always push gun control because uh, many people probably do want to make people more safe, and I don't know exactly the arguments or the statistics for whether gun control might make some people safe in some instances, but ultimately I think that they're trying to take guns away from everybody because they want to get rid of the Second Amendment and people's ability to protect themselves from a tyrannical government. But yeah, they always go after that one, and especially for the male school shooters, right? That's the biggest one that they go after. In fact, it's funny because this shooter's mom posted this on her social media accounts. Sign the petition, keep guns out of school. The sandyhookpromise.org, which is one of the biggest organizations for gun control that came out of the Sandy Hook tragedy, and they're pushing nonstop. Probably, I would say millions and millions of dollars put into this organization for this
Yeah.
propaganda.
And apparently, like this family, so this mother would have been one of the parents that rejected this shooter. That's what they've said in the media so far about things with the
Hmm.
relationship here, is that the family rejected her for being gay and trans. And so it's interesting that she's still pushing this keep guns out of school things. And then her daughter, who she rejected, ended up bringing a gun right into school. So
Hmm.
probably a lot of weird shit going on there. Weird
Well,
family stuff.
yeah. A bunch of schizophrenic ideologies all mashing up against each other, right?
Yeah.
Now let's just look at to see the actual information of the shooter. So Andy Noah's got a good thread, just kind of summarizing it. So this is the person, Audrey Hale, aka Aiden Hale, identifies as trans, killed 3 children and 3 staff members. This is her LinkedIn page, I believe. Some of her art. This picture is probably the creepiest one. So
Yeah,
most of
it
these
is.
that weird grin, that fucking I don't know what kind of haircut you'd call that, like a longer
Mhm.
bowl cut.
Very pale.
Hmm.
Very, very pale and
The
weak, I'm
creepy
sure.
smile.
The very strange pictures of Disney stuff. Like, I don't know what that's about.
And
Disney and
just look at
trans stuff all the time.
yeah, yeah. And then this one's kind of creepy. It has like quite the contrast between her as a female and then her trying to be a male.
Oh,
Interesting.
yeah, that's very interesting. And I didn't really think that was the case. I don't know if like this person was able to transition. Some people have theorized that something that might have pissed them off or put them to the tipping point was the ban on transitioning stuff, or that
Right,
she
right.
felt that was going to happen. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
sorry. I forgot about that thing. So this happened in Tennessee, and just I think that at the beginning of that year, they banned medical transitioning of minors. So first off, it
She's
doesn't
not a minor.
affect yeah, it doesn't
Mhm.
affect her, but that makes that provides more of a potential motive for it being purely ideological, right?
Yeah.
Like she feels an affinity to that cause, and that maybe she thinks that she could have transitioned earlier, then she wouldn't be as miserable as she is now, especially since all the
Yeah.
propaganda that provides her with that kind of thought,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And they also banned drag shows for kids
Mhm.
in Tennessee. that month. So they're doing good jobs in Tennessee,
Mhm.
but they're paying for it apparently, and
Yeah,
it's quite
try to
sad.
protect your kids and they'll still come after your kids. Apparently, that's what their MO is now.
So we have all the footage here. We're not gonna watch that. You guys could watch that on your own if you want. But what else do we have here? Oh, her artistry. You must fear the wrath of a failed artist, right?
Yeah,
We know one
yeah, we know all about
historical
that. Yeah.
failed artist that we hear nonstop about. But what
This
about the
almost looks like AI art. I
yeah,
can't tell the difference anymore.
it kind of does. It has that weird like kind of paintish look to it.
Mhm.
So, I'm guessing she did a lot of work for people in the town, right?
Yeah.
This stuff is fucking weird. I don't know. I don't know how to judge this kind of art if it's good or
No, me
not.
either. It's like graphic art, I guess. So like it is what it is.
So
But
this is for denver.org. Okay.
Right.
I don't know. This is reasonable to me.
Yeah, it's awful.
I don't know. Why didn't
But
she
the
lean
Disney
into this
stuff's
some more?
weird. I was looking at this yesterday, and it was like the Disney stuff I thought was strange, and then she had like another page that was specifically like toys and games or
Right.
something that was weird.
Well, I'm definitely sussed out by anyone who's into Disney as an adult.
Hmm.
Like that has never appealed to me. There you have it. Here, I need to go to the washroom really quickly, so I'm gonna play a bit of classical music so it could once again repel all the degenerates, and we will be right back. Hold on, just give me 1 second. All right, and we're back. Did that repel the degenerates from the chat? Let's see.
Hope so.
Seems like we have the same amount or more people right now. So
Yeah, they're all
I think we acquired some more big-brained classical music enjoyers.
Yeah, classical music's working for the stream. I think that should be
That's good.
maybe a continuous thing you do. Oh, I'm muted. There we go.
Oh, okay. There you go. I could hear you this whole time. I
Oh,
don't know about
really?
everyone else.
That's strange.
Well, we have somebody asking, so what the fuck sex was it born? Shit is so confusing. So, that is a girl, and her name
It
is
is.
Audie, I believe, or I don't know, forget, something like that. Aldi. I'll bring that back up. But
Yeah, it's like
she was,
Audrey or
yeah,
something.
she was identifying as Aiden though, and
Mhm.
trying very
Him,
creepily to look like a guy, and
it.
obviously it wasn't working. So,
No, not at all. I think women probably have the harder time too, because like their body probably has to go through like the worst transition ever, just pumping yourself with testosterone when you literally make very, very, very little to
mhm.
begin with. So
And if you're trying to get, you know, I guess a penis, if you want to call it that, made
keep
out
rubbing the
of,
testosterone on your fucking crotch and your penis will grow. That's how it works, right?
oh my lord, like, of course you could wear the strap on, right? You know, that's the
Yeah.
classic lesbian trick, and it's been around for ages. The classic lesbian, you know, they scissor sometimes, they do some of that. It's quite silly, you know.
Double-ended dildo. Yeah,
Yeah.
you could get you get some plumber's cement. You could just try to make it as permanent as possible. That might be an easy.
Yes.
Just test it out before, like you get the back of your leg rolled up into a tube and then stitched oddly to your
Oh.
fucking stomach. You see those photos?
So that's what I was gonna get to, and I'm like, that is apparently what they're striving to do, is cut off large pieces of their thigh
Yeah.
and then make that into some kind of makeshift penis. Like, how is that going to have all the sensation? That has got to
It's
be the
not.
most insane. Like, oh, I don't even want to think about how that would function.
When I saw
Nobody
those
does.
photos, I wasn't right for like a day. I was like, man, they're doing this stuff. Like I was very concerned about
Is
everything after that.
is
That's
that where it
crazy.
leads to?
Is that what they consider acceptable?
Is that
Like, come
peak
on, like
transsexual, like
that's what you're
female
gonna
to
put
male?
on? Like you're like, I'm a man now. It's like back of your leg. Like, come on, let's wait a little bit until they get you some really realistic, like robot dick thing they can install into your
Yeah.
pelvis somehow. Like, fuck.
It puts a new meaning to the term third leg. Really.
Yeah.
Well, here's a thing for the schizos. I was not sure whether I was gonna play this, but I think it's warranted.
I have my personal phone sitting here, so I'm looking at the family text messages, and I'm also talking to people that I know in this community who keep people at school safe. So I've been talking to police officers too. It is a strange situation to be in right now, Vicki, and I cannot believe that this school, as I said, a year ago did this training. I was there, and here they are now, about 13 months later, putting this into practice.
Do we have to put a dime in the Alex Jones was right jar?
What is
Yeah,
this
now they're
photo
gonna say-
we've got? It looks like a
Sorry, go ahead.
Every single time that they have these occurrences now, they're always going to be like, oh, but they had active shooter training. It didn't work. Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what's going to happen every time now. That's what they're going to do.
putting this into practice. What is this photo we've got? It looks like a photo of maybe the school grounds,
yes.
or at least some of the response in the area. This school is set up on a hill. It's in Green Hills. You can actually, if you're at the Green Hills Mall, if you look south, you can see the steeple of this church. So that might give people some context as they're trying to figure out where this school is located. Again, if you're in the parking garage at the Macy's and you look back, you can see the church that is right next to this small school, pre-K through 6th grade. And you can see right now it is just flooded with first responders.
I guess if there's anything to be thankful for, it's that they did have pre-training, because it could have been so much worse, I'm sure.
Think about the building that you work in or the school that you attended. You can't necessarily hear what's going on
No.
at that front door.
You're right, you can't.
And so communicating is just key. You know, this is the lifeline, and they used that this morning, it sounds like, to get the word out that something wasn't right. And that was big at this training that I attended last winter, having that way to get in touch. One of the things they did on the day that I was not there, but I heard about it secondhand, they actually fired a gun into a box and stationed people around the school so that they could say, I didn't hear it. I did hear it. And that was probably, and again, this was on like a winter break. So there weren't kids laughing and talking and walking. But that was a very good, I think, lesson as far as not.
So what do you think, man? Are you going full tinfoil hat? And
I don't really know what to like think about that whole thing. It's very strange that they happen to have this person around and talk about all of these things. Uh,
right, like
I don't
within
know.
a day, and
But nothing she said was really like, she's like, oh, we learned to like use our phones and call the police. And then we heard if we could hear a gun be fired and we couldn't. Like, oh, okay. Like, is that it? Like, I don't
right.
know what to make of that, to be honest. To me, I just think like whatever she just said, uh, doesn't seem to make me feel like uh she's adding anything to the conversation. She's just this person that seems very jittery and can't even explain, like, oh, they taught us to fucking call the police like any normal person would do with a phone. She's acting like, and this amazing thing that you could like put numbers in and it calls the police. Like,
Right.
have you seen this? Like, have you seen this thing? Like, I don't know, man.
I think we're
I'm just gonna say,
definitely
yeah.
hear
What do
us
you think?
us conspiracy theorists. We're so down to pounce on something like this, even though when you
Yeah.
really think about it, it's like, oh, so you had lockdown drills essentially.
Hmm.
You had like maybe a bit more of a sophisticated lockdown drill where things got a bit more specific and you tried a few more things than would have been in a normal lockdown drill that every school may have had to go through, right?
Yeah.
Right. Although, one thing about the Sandy Hook shooting, or the Handy Sook, as we'll call it, like I don't think that was, a hoax whatsoever. However, I do think that they flooded, like, the deep state or the mainstream, the government, the CIA or something. They
Mhm.
flooded alternative media spaces with false information or misleading information in order
Yeah.
to get conspiracy theorists to go on all these red herrings and to be caught with egg on their face,
Yeah.
and which led someone like Alex Jones to be paying billions or
Mhm.
millions or whatever the fuck he has to pay. Uh, and they took them on this wild ride in order to discredit future conspiracy theorists because they hadn't been able to get a hold of the freedom of information that was flowing on the internet at that time,
Mhm.
especially after 9/11, and people were starting to find out about all the inner workings of how the towers got blown up and how
Yeah.
all the different groups that were involved and whatnot.
I like your take. I agree because to me, I'm just like that. I guess that's kind of what it feels like. They're just putting something
Right.
out there, but to me, I'm just like this person's not really
Oh,
making me
I
feel
don't
like
think
there's
that they're
something
doing
going
that
on.
here. I don't think
Oh,
that they're
okay.
doing that here.
But
But
yeah, they do
it,
that. Even like
yeah,
with early on, with the reporting on the shooting the other day, like yesterday, there was a lot of flooding out of like random stuff going on. People were tweeting out different things that didn't quite make sense. So I don't know. It's interesting how they do that stuff. They try to make it seem things, even with the mother and people reposting the keep guns out of schools thing. Like now people are saying that, like, oh, like maybe this daughter's and this mother are like a team working for some government and stuff I've seen. So I'm like, I don't really think that's the case
they're
either. I
all
think this is,
crisis actors,
I
right?
think for one time in out of many shootings that probably were fake and gay, this is one that's actually the result of what they're doing to people. So and
Yeah,
they want
it
this.
seems pretty cause and effect, right?
Hmm.
Well, let's see how the leftists are reacting on Twitter because they're not gonna let it. They're not gonna ever admit that their ideology might be taken too far.
Mhm.
This is from Libs of
I
TikTok.
wonder if the parents of the victims of the Nashville shooting today would still have their children if these trans bills in Tennessee were never a thing. I'm not a parent, but if I were, I'd be real mad at the government. I'd be real mad at the government.
It's so weird. It does not seem like she realizes what she's implying by saying that.
Yeah, that's crazy. But this is where people are at. Like they're literally just like, how can I come out and protect this trans person? Or how can I make this about something that is not about kids dying because that's much worse and I'm too irresponsible to actually care about something that matters. So
Well, this guy, this propagandist, Tim Wise, he always has a very atrocious opinion whenever something like this happens, and he works through with all these anti-hate sort of organizations. And he's saying, all y'all calling for more prayer in the wake of this school shooting in Nashville need to be reminded that faith without works is dead according to the Bible you claim to love so much. Do some
bad
work
take.
to protect kids, not from drag queens and books you don't like, but from guns.
Oh, bad take. This okay, so
So
faith
diversion
without
to
works.
guns.
Oh, fuck this guy.
And then
So
I wonder if he said this before he realized like the facts of the situation, because a lot of these so-called anti-hate organizations have been very silent about this specific event, and they're really probably have an internal struggle trying to figure out how to damage control and how to frame this so that they're spotless and they come off clean, at least to their supporters and to their donors.
yeah. Yeah, anyways, he's remind that faith without works is dead. No, like you have works because of your faith, and this guy's just being a piece of shit. Like, so that's a bad take on that one. And he's an
Right.
idiot. Like, if you have faith, you have good works. Faith without works is dead. So without works, your faith is dead. That's how you tell if you have faith, because you have works. So this guy's a fucking faggot. Get out of here, faggot.
All right. Fuck off, Tim Wise. Now imagine having a take so bad that you get early life checked by the Taliban. Yeah, you can't see the original tweet because he was deleted it, and you'll see why. But we have the Taliban Public Relations Department. I think this is a real account, right? Do you know
Is it
anything
really
about
real? I've heard of it. I'm not sure if it's real or fake. Someone said that it was that I can't remember the guy's name. He kind of travels to different places and reports on
Lord
it.
Miles?
Yeah, Lord Miles. Somebody said it might be Lord Miles, and could be. I
Right.
don't know.
Okay, yeah, because Lord Miles, he's like an explorer, and like he seems like relatively based, like he's
Yeah, a little
well
bit.
liked among our communities and stuff. Uh, and he apparently or supposedly went missing in Afghanistan, and he had last been seen with the Taliban public relations department, like hanging out on their account. And then he went missing, and they're like, "Oh, our brother Miles, we don't know where he is. We promise we'll try to get him back." And then, like a week later, he was back with them. So now that you say that, that would be hilarious. I thought that he was definitely, not definitely, but likely helping them write these kinds of tweets and get this kind of meme magic going. Like he was definitely kind of instructing or teaching them how to tweet like this. But now that you say that, that might be the case. I just want to believe that the Taliban is tweeting this fire though. So they early checked they early life checked this guy David Pacman, who is pretty insufferable liberal commentator, if you know who he is at all.
Yeah.
But what did he say initially? Very surprising that there would be a mass shooting at a Christian school, given that lack of prayer is often blamed for these horrible events. Is it possible they weren't praying enough or correctly, despite being a Christian school? So, fuck, I don't even know what level of like disdain you have
Like, where
for
does that? Yeah,
Christians
exactly. Like, you
to
have
come
to
up
really
with.
have a level of hatred for somebody to come out and say something like that. Like, that's how you know that, like, when somebody actually hates somebody, they call them out like that. And this guy's Well, we know where he's Jewish, and Jewish people really don't like Christians apparently, so not surprised.
So it's no wonder he got early life checked. And then, of course, he plays the anti-Semitism card
Yeah,
when I don't know where it shows that he did, but that's why he deleted the tweet saying that,
yeah,
oh, people were threatening me with anti-Semitic remarks or whatever.
yeah.
So he got flamed for that too. But imagine you just switched out like the intent of what he was trying to say with any other
Mm.
group, right? Like
Yeah.
a synagogue or a mosque got shut up, and you try
Hmm.
to use the same logic. Like even any of the white nationalists or the people who are considered most extreme would not even say anything like that. Yet this is
Hmm.
just a total like liberal left-wing centrist, and
Yeah,
this is the kind of
they can get
garbage
away
he's
with it,
doing.
and they're really pushing that narrative too. So it's unfortunate. That's probably largely why this church was targeted as well. Like obviously, she apparently it probably went to the school, from what the police are saying, but at the same time, um, they they chose a religious institution, and we've already been seeing that like they're trying to suggest Christianity specifically, and to a degree Islam as well, are very anti-LGBT and stuff like that. So I think that's on purpose, to get us to be the target for all their mentally challenged. I don't even understand like this whole trans thing to me is still mind-boggling. Like, yeah, I've seen the creep coming from like early 2000 and on and stuff like that, and then the massive normalization they're trying to push on us now. Uh, it's still really like mind-blowing to me to think that you can convince somebody of these like absolute lies, and then they're going to go around and repeat them. Like I know, like it's definitely obviously possible. It's just still very shocking, and they're actually cutting their shit off. Anyways, it's
Well,
just mind blowing to me. Back in the '90s, like you would never imagine this stuff. Like there was like weird outliers that you were just called like trannies because they were drag queens and they'd show up at the bar and be weird or something. So,
well, it really is a thing that has sprung up in the last 5 years or so. Like we
mhm.
saw a bit of it with Jordan Peterson and the she they pronouns and Bill C-16, and he didn't want
He
the
doesn't even know what a
compelled
white
speak.
guy is anymore. He doesn't even know what a white person
Yeah.
is. So, like, who the fuck knows what he's talking about?
Yeah, let me bring that up for a second. Let me find it here. I called it the Peterson
The
gaslight.
Scottish thing, man. Scotland's so cucked. Like, I'm pretty interested in Scotland, being somebody of Scottish heritage and having like a deep interest in their history, and the way that they are now compared to how they came up and what they were all about back in the day, is embarrassing, and they are a sad sack of people. I told off a Scottish guy in the Dominican once with a bunch of Americans, and he felt really bad because we just made fun of him and made suggestions about Braveheart and stuff like that. He's like, "Oh, you're right." So it was fun. Fucking cucks.
Well, do you think it has something to do with the fact that they are 96% white still? Because on one hand, they're not getting demographically changed as quickly, but at the
That's
same time,
interesting. Yeah.
they're not feeling diversity as hard as some other countries are as quickly, right? In
Mhm.
Britain's, they're having some pretty good, like in the UK, they're having some pretty good rebellion now with groups like Patriotic Alternative,
Yeah.
Tommy Robinson's group, Britain First, all these different groups.
Mhm.
Uh,
Ireland's
and
heading that way too. So
yeah,
yeah,
but
it's gonna start
Scotland,
spreading.
you don't really hear that much from them, and maybe
No.
because they're spoiled and they don't realize the effects of diversity because they're not
Hmm.
necessarily experiencing it yet. Now, at the same
Hmm.
time, I've heard that in the jails in Scotland, they're having these trans people coming in who are literally pedophiles and rapists, like ridiculously convicted of heinous crimes.
Hmm.
Yet they're still allowed males being allowed to occupy female jails, getting
Yeah.
caught having sex with the prisoners there and just moving to another female jail. I,
Yeah.
I believe there was one story about one of them wanted their nappy. They demanded the guards give them their nappy, and there was some kind of uh, law or some kind of rule that could potentially allow it. So Scotland, prisoner, Daily Mail nappy. Yeah,
Nappy.
I'm not kidding, man.
That's
I thought this was like a fairy tale, like a Factor fairy tale, obvious fairy tale, but no, this is real. Thought the rapist sent to a woman's jail in Scotland was farcical? Read about the killer who was born a man, became a woman, and now identifies as a baby, and who gets nappies and a dummy, and they're handheld every time they leave their cell.
oh my God.
Now, I don't know if that sounds pretty fucking ridiculous. I don't know if it's like every time that happens, but the fact that they're even entertaining that at all is mind-boggling.
It would be
And
interesting to see how many trans people actually are in jail, because in Canada we've done the same thing. Like we've put like whatever it is into the opposite of what it's supposed to be, jail, a few times. And that's concerning. But like I'd like to know how many trans people in general are in jails, because like they do have a small demographic in North America, and be interesting to see what their numbers look like, especially given what they've been doing with shootings.
yeah, well, I definitely think that they have a disproportionate incarceration rate compared to other demographics, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like it's kind of like that stat that you brought up earlier that Ferryman called that guy out on Twitter for, where he said, "Look, only 1 or 2% of mass shooters are trans." And it's like, well, they're only 0.1 or 0.2% of society. So that's like a 10%, oh no, 10 times overrepresentation. And the
Yeah.
mainstream media and the establishment always pulls these sleights of hand in order to brainwash and manipulate the masses into believing something that's totally untrue. And you could see this with like the black crime epidemic.
Yeah.
There's new studies, one specifically that Jared Taylor of American Renaissance was showing, saying that throughout the course of a black person's life, a black male's life in the United States, that around 1 in 25 of them will commit a homicide.
Hmm.
Pretty insane. And
Yeah.
I think it's 13%, like the black demographic commits something like 50 to 60% of the homicides. Yet they'll
Yeah.
tell you they'll only focus in on one specific set of data, like black people are incarcerated way more than white people. And then they never fill in the rest of the relevant information that will tell you why, right?
Mhm.
Or they'll say that more white people commit murders than black people, which I don't even think is true. First, they'll use something else, some other sleight of hand, but then you'll go, oh, well, what about like proportional representation or per capita, right?
Yeah.
They always remove the per capita.
Is
Are you
my
there?
Zoom screen go? Yeah, there's something going on with my Zoom
Yeah,
where I
yeah,
can't
you're
pick any.
frozen, bud.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna reset and come right back then,
All right, sounds good.
because something weird's going on with my screen. It just happened out of nowhere.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. This is miserable.
Well, we're getting into all sorts of things now. Yeah, I wanted to bring this up. This is a relatively new news story. So going back to the whole Palestine, Ohio water poisoning, the train derailment, and how the government, or yeah, you're still. Okay, yeah, I'll just continue here until you're back. So in East Palestine, with the train derailment that happened and the poisoning of the water, we are now finding out from a whistleblower. Well, here. Okay, we got Saxon coming back in. Oh, fuck. Now I have to figure out a way. Okay, remove the Saxon clone.
There's a clone.
Yeah. Now it's asking me why do I want to report you? What happened?
Oh, what did I do?
Offensive, illegal, or abusive? No, I'll tell you
Really?
later. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It's asking me why I removed you.
Oh,
All right. Well, There you go. You're back. We're good.
Okay. Sorry about that, everyone.
Yeah, no problem, man. So this is about the water situation, the train derailment in East Palestine. So this guy, Benny Johnson, I think he works for Turning Point USA. He was outside of the Ministry of Transportation's office, their building, and you know that what's his name, Pete Buttigieg over here is yeah. And what he has to do with transportation, what expertise he has there, I don't really know. It doesn't seem like he has any. It seems like all of his political clout is based on him being like the perfect neoliberal yes man, putting through all the economic and social issues that they want him to do.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's gay too, he's this gay.
Oh, that's why you can't
right?
question him, or else you're a homophobe or a bigot or whatever, right? So
exactly, yeah. Michael Jones really likes going in on him. It's really funny, yeah, especially because he refers to Peter Buttigieg as like an exemplary example of the gay disco, as he calls it. Like, they put this guy forth to gut out your jobs, to take away industry from the state that he's in charge of, and then instead he brings so-called freedoms, like all this gay rights and all this these gay programs. Meanwhile, cutting out all the funding for like blue-collar workers and all their jobs and all their industry there.
Yeah. Preferential class creation.
Exactly, and you could see more of that with this. So Benny Johnson, he's doing some kind of prank troll where he's selling water bottles outside of their office that say that they're from East Palestine. So yeah, they keep trying to remove him, but then a whistleblower apparently talks to him once he gets removed to the sidewalk. So this is kind of what goes on. Hold on.
What happens when your identity in East Palestine? I know I will. Of water poisoned in East Palestine. Free water from East Palestine? Sir, I saw that knowing glance. That's why I'm right here. I know, they kicked me out. Yeah, they won't let me stand in front of the building.
I'd like to see him drink it.
That's right. Why isn't he drinking it?
Well, he has his own dining. Did you know he has his own dining room?
No way.
He don't eat with the plebes. He doesn't eat with the rest of us.
Really? He has his own dining room?
They have his own dining room.
Yeah, so this guy apparently has been working with them for 25 years, at least according to Benny Johnson. Now, there's nothing you could really say against this except for maybe this guy is lying or they just set this up. But if this is genuine, then like what can you really say? And the things that he says in this, you have to think like, yeah, that's exactly what they would be doing if they were doing something like this, right?
We hardly see him. He shows up just so like if you have a party or something, and what they do is they come around and they want to make sure there's enough people in the office that day so that he has people to greet. It's all an elaborate production.
Wow. Unbelievable.
This building's 3/4 empty.
These federal government buildings are all empty. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I lived in D.C. for a long time. I'm aware. You walk through it, it's like a ghost town.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm in Federal Railroad, and
I don't get it.
Nobody panicked. There was no scramble. It's like, why?
Dude.
Why aren't we taking this serious?
Yo, I got to tell you, we went there, like right away, and it was bad.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
The eyes were stinging, the mouth was stinging, and we were seeing these little kids. I'm like, man, this sucks. And I don't care where you come from politically. No kids should live like,
We're the United States.
Yeah. Even like conservatives, a lot of Republicans were like, where's the federal government?
I'm now on a project of handing out money.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be subjective or objective. Well, they'll step in. Well, we want this project because it's a blue state. Oh, so no matter how bad it is, so they appoint these leaders of each group, and then they make sure the money be recommend. That's how it works.
That it goes to a blue state, not a red state.
Right.
So you think this was politically motivated in East Palestine? Yeah. It was at this.
Yeah. So there's plenty more revelations there. One being that he remembers like a decade or two ago that instead of sending all these trains through cities, they redirected them all through all these towns, all these small towns, and that they never made any media headlines about it, and they made sure that it was kind of quiet, right?
Yeah.
But what you could see here, obviously, is that they're discriminating against red states, right? And you could probably guess why they're discriminating against them, because they're not the preferred race or political persuasion, religion.
Yeah. They don't tick all the woke boxes, so they gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
They have to leave immediately. No, and the other thing is too, like I really do believe that there's also the other side factor that they're really trying to destroy the environment where these people live as well and bring them into the cities. I think like you've seen a lot of these train
Right.
derailments and a few more of these chemicals that have been being spilled, a few other fires, all these chemical plants. I think like what they're trying to do is really destroy your dependence on food you can grow. So
That's true.
it's
Yeah.
not great.
Like, I don't know if that's in their plan. Like, yeah, we're gonna destroy all the stuff, but they allow it to happen, and then it all works in their favor, and it's like it's a positive feedback loop for all the evil that they're trying to do.
Yeah, well, they're so fancy.
Right.
They don't eat any food that anybody else in America eats. Like they get all this specialty shit. Like they don't have to worry about this affecting them. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, maybe let's we're approaching 2 hours now, so I kind of want to wrap it up.
Okay.
Let's end on something maybe positive.
Oh.
Is that possible?
Well, I mean, if you can find something positive, definitely let's end on it because it is getting pretty sketchy out there. And like it really is starting to be apparent to more and more people that we are under threat. Our way of life is under threat. And people really do need to start standing up, fighting back, and stop taking this shit. Like when you're at those drag queen protests and all their counter protesters come back, it's time for you to actually tell them what you really think and be more vocal, be more assertive with your opinions. Everybody, I'm not going to tell you to be violent or anything like that. But if you get in confrontations with these people and they're trying to be violent with you, defend yourself and defend yourself fucking well, very well. And that's my opinion. Because at this point in time, they need to understand that if they're going to push, there's people that can push back. And they right now they think they can get away with anything, and that's really feeding into this. Nobody's doing anything.
Right. Yeah, that is very delicate balance too, though, because you putting forth that bravado, the state is also looking for that to single in on that and say, oh, look, this person wants to get violent too, and and then they use that as an excuse to say, oh, they're being violent, so we've got to do things by any means necessary. So it is like a fine line, and it's something that you definitely have to have discipline going towards these events. But at the same time, yes, you do not want to be pushed around. You do not want to be the one getting sauced by an angry mob of trans protesters, and then
for instance,
ran out of the town.
They've hit the Alexander kids and Monty and stuff like that for going to these protests. They do different tactics where they put flags up. They straight up will punch them right in the face, full force when nobody's looking and stuff like that. They've been doing this stuff, and they're getting away with this stuff. And they're getting more and more serious about what they're willing to do. And nobody's stopping them. Nobody's standing up to them. And people need to stand up and be especially more vocal because right now the biggest thing that they have that's working for them is everybody's silence and fear to confront these people and tell the truth. Like we have Josh Alexander in school standing up to this stuff. So I think some adults should start standing up to it at work and stuff like that. But everyone's on my job and stuff. Like, what do you care about? Think about what you care about and like what the future is going to be for other people. Like people, you need to stop being selfish and you need to stop trying to be virtuous and woke. It's not helping anybody.
Yep, definitely getting together in the communities and figuring out how you're going to go forward with these things. Uh, being able to defend yourself, but also having the discipline and the smarts to not get caught in a trap.
Yes.
These are all things that you need to think of going forward to be able to put the right amount of pressure on them, but also make your own events and do your own things, but be able to defend those events too.
Yeah.
Now, I've been thinking about that with having venues to do your events, right? And it seems like whenever you get a venue, they try to go after all the different people involved. Like if it's not, if the venue owner doesn't cuck, then they'll maybe go after their suppliers, or they'll go after other people who may be performing at that venue in the future. Maybe go after their like marketing agency, all these different things, whatever they can to cut people off. So finding solutions to these problems, such as like having it being self-sustainable, or
Yeah.
you know, having enough of a defense force that you could be able to insulate people from being attacked by the mob. Like if people who do have more resources, who do have more connections, you have to be able to insulate them from the attack that the mob will have on them, the cancellation mob. Now, I don't know have all the answers to these questions, but these are things that people
Well,
should
yeah, it's a
definitely
hard
look
thing to
into.
figure out how to fight back, especially when everything that you can do can be reversed and pinned right back on you. And then all of a sudden you're some type of hateful criminal person. And that's the hard thing about it is there there's no easy way to go about it. They've made it that way on purpose. And you're right, 100%. It's very fine and delicate because you have to think about yourself all the time as well
Mm-hmm.
and what your future is going to be. So you never want to put yourself in a harmful situation
Right.
where you're going to end up getting arrested, especially. So don't do anything like that. But if it comes to defending yourself, I recommend that you do it at this point because what else do you have?
That's your own body. You got to defend
Yeah,
yourself,
you have to defend
obviously,
yourself.
and your friends and the people around you. Like that's obvious. Yes. Well, I think
Sorry,
that
sorry that you're like, let's go positive. I'm like,
no,
yes,
I think
defend
that was
yourself.
positive. It wasn't oh ha ha
Sorry.
ha funny, but no, I think that was a positive note to end it off at. I want to thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Saxon, for coming on with a good
Oh,
conversation.
no problem. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
I like
It's
these
always good to have you
conversations.
on. Love watching your streams too. Thanks for all the people in the Rumble chat that came out. YouTube, make sure that you like it. Share it if you want other people to see it. Give me a comment after so we can get it up in the algorithms. Thank you to all who donated. Oh, we got another donation just before we go on Entropy. Donkey Dongalong. Good to
Oh,
see
hey,
you, buddy.
man.
He's saying this whole situation can be avoided. How I run my family, you others, is our business. Stay out of our bedrooms. Done. We can have our differences for peace, but man, woman, child, that's my family. Yeah, starts at you protecting your own family.
That's
And
right.
then once you clean your own room, bucko,
Yeah,
then you could help the rest of the world. But yeah, once you can protect your own family, then you could
it's
start
true.
spreading that gift to the rest of your community and so on and so forth.
And having your own strong kids as well will protect them. The other thing that we have to learn, though, from what the incident that just happened is that they are willing to go to schools and shoot them up. So no matter
Right.
what you do with your family and kids, you always have to remain vigilant. If you have to pull your kids out of school, and you have the ability to do that, definitely do that. If you have your ability to pull yourself out of society and escape all of this stuff, that's like highly suggestible. That's what you should be doing right now. And then we can start these strengthening communities where we don't have this stuff. It's ostracized and they can die of their degeneracy back in the cities.
Mm-hmm.
Positivity.
Yeah, homeschooling. Yes, teach your kids to be based.
Yeah.
We have another super chat. Scarecrow saying, "Great show, guys. Edgy, nice touch with the timely 'this is fine' meme portrayal, having the flames all around and whatnot." Yeah, I didn't notice that, but that's very ironic. Yeah, this is fine, guys. We're having a happy ending here tonight.
Yeah. Nobody's been stabbed for asking someone not to smoke, so that's good.
Yeah, that was fucking
And
just brutal to watch, and it makes you think that going down the street, like I sometimes think, like, is somebody just gonna drift off to the side and run me over while I'm on the sidewalk? Like, you never know who is going to be that fucked in the head and do something like that. Like, some of these new Canadians, you could kind of tell, like, maybe there's more of a chance that something might happen with them, right?
Seems like that.
But to be honest, with that person that we saw who shot up that school, some of her iterations of her personality, I wouldn't have expected anything like that. Like, you see that one picture of her as a female, like, and presenting as such, you never think that, right? And you finding that looks can be deceiving,
Yes. Well, and that's the other thing too. They went from being like what you would consider relatively normal, probably thought relatively normal things, and then something happened, and then they went on this crazy decline, and it led to this. And that's what's really concerning because you can tell it is a mental health disorder, and these people are declining. These declines are taken advantage of, and they're actually being fueled and being manipulated towards these things through mainstream media and all their bullshit, Southern poverty law, and all their garbage too. So that's what happens. They're making targets for these people that they've just utterly destroyed mentally and spiritually.
Yep, they've got an army of Trancels, that's for sure. And they're coming after us. And they're trying to convert us too because they can't reproduce. So they've got to create more of them through ideology.
Yeah,
you can't
it really is the Borg.
Yeah, you can't reproduce with a piece of your leg attached onto your groin. I'm just sorry, it's just not possible.
But you could like maybe make like a gingerbread man, and then you can make some little clothes for it, pretend it's your child. That might be the safer thing to do, really.
That's definitely some Silence of the Lamb type shit.
Yeah, maybe. Sorry, I don't think about that stuff constantly or all the time. Just so you know.
Now it might be fitting for this stream to go with the Silence of the Lambs. What do you call it? What's that song again? Goodbye Horses. And do the little lipstick bit. Maybe do a little bit of tuck and dance. But I'm not going to bless you guys with that. Instead, I'm going to listen to Ferryman in the chat saying, Tchaikovsky or die. Because we are classical music respecters. We want to cast out all the degenerates, so we're going to play the Lord's music. And
Tchaikovsky's awesome, by the way. So
we will see you guys later. And hopefully a bunch of based Russian Chads will start a riot because they can't comprehend how awesome this music is. So here's the best of Tchaikovsky. Thank you guys for coming out. See you next Tuesday. Or maybe sometime in the week if I'm on another stream. Peace out. Thanks, Saxon.
Bye.